Good morning. It is only, what, 6:05, but good morning anyway. No, go away. So I was sitting here last night having a very in-depth conversation with my brother Corey, and we were talking away, and he said we were telling stories and talking about things and whatnot, and he goes, we were getting chased one night, and it was by RoboCop. Now, I've spoke about this in other videos. I had such a crazy life that things that would be absolutely memorable to other people, things that would probably traumatise and change other people, because of the severity of incidents that repeatedly kept stacking on top of each other for me, some things I just completely forget about. And, you know, when he said that last night, something come back to me that that made me just go, fuck, how did I forget about that? And, you know, what these police officers would have went through trying to control me during this incident. And yeah, as always, this isn't about anything but telling my life story, trying to reflect on the person that I was and acknowledge the person I've become, not only for me, but for the, as I said, the police officers that went through this incident that day, my friend that was also there, who it would have really affected. And yeah, I just want to start with that. So basically, myself and three of my friends had organised to escape from Ashley's, the youth detention centre here in Tasmania. And see, just saying that, like, that's just made me remember some other things. This incident not only affected myself and two of my mates out of the four of us that escaped lives, the police officers that were involved in recapturing three of us, but also the girlfriend of one of the boys that escaped with me, and the people that helped us escape. So, you know, the actions of four people ended up affecting the lives of over a dozen. So, yeah. Obviously, these are on-the-fly acknowledgements. I didn't actually plan on telling that part of the story because it didn't really register in my head that it was actually as important as this other part of the story, but it is. Basically, we'd called up and organised for my mate's girlfriend and a vehicle to be down on the highway. It's about 300 metres, 250 metres away from the actual perimeter fence that keeps you inside the detention centre at a certain time. And yes, the car was there at a certain time. We've come back from the dining area where you used to have to use your unit to go to a different area of the detention centre to have lunch and dinner. On our way back to the unit, we just took off for the fence, and all four of us cleared it straight down to the highway, jumped in the car, and off to Launceston we went. Launceston's a 20-25 minute drive from the detention centre. Obviously speeding the whole way. There's now 8 of us in this vehicle, because this is the tragic thing. The people that were driving the vehicle didn't actually have any prior knowledge that we were going to be coming over that detention centre fence and getting in the vehicle. Now, when we got to Launceston, we travelled somewhere. We all got out and ran into bushland basically, and stayed there until darkness because it was still daylight. Basically, we stayed there for about 5 hours, just waiting for darkness. As soon as darkness hit, we made our way on foot to Ravenswood, and one of us chose to be separated from the others, leaving us just waiting for him. Didn't give us an explanation, but anyway, the three of us that were still left together then went on to steal a car and do all sorts of things. But to cut the story short, the next morning, daylight had only been up for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, so it was just coming on to morning, and we'd been driving this car around all night, and given we were off our heads, we didn't actually look at the petrol gauge, and we were coming out of Old Vermont Road, Ravenswood, about to go right down Vermont Road. Out of nowhere, this other car has come up behind us, give us a little nudge, and then when we've turned around to look what was happening, there was a car full of blokes like screaming and hands going everywhere, and they're going like this, like to pull over. We took off down Vermont Road, overtaking cars, doing whatever, and we took that first left to go down into the back streets of Mowbray, full lock sideways because we were obviously trying to escape, and missed a car, like with a family in it, mind you, by about an inch. Our arse end did. And thankfully, because I was 14 or 15 and I was driving, thankfully the car ran out of petrol right then and there. Literally, as soon as we missed that car with the arse end of our stolen car, I went to put my foot down and take off, and the car just went brrr. I've tried starting it, brrr. That's when I looked down and realised we were out of petrol while we were being chased by the owners. Anyway, we let the car roll to a stop basically, leapt out of the car, and we've all taken off. We all ran down into Heritage Forest. For those of you who don't know what Heritage Forest is, it's a massive big sporting ground and walking track and dog walking. There's dog walking in closed areas. It's basically 8 or 10 football ovals with main roads on either side of it and roads leading into it all on one side. And yeah, it's just a sporting community rec area basically. And we've ran down in there and started hiding in random spots around Heritage Forest. Well, at some point, we can hear police radios and we can hear people running around screaming, "Try find them, look here, look there." Anyway, at one point, one of us got up and ran off and jumped the fence and went somewhere else to hide. Me and my other mate stayed. We were submerged in a creek with just our faces out of the water, trying to hide. At some point, these police officers have come along the embankment and they've looked down and seen us, and we've seen them see us. So we just flew up out of the water and waded across the other side. They've obviously jumped in there after us, nearly got us in the first bit of the creek, like where we were hiding. We've come up out of that embankment and just started running across Heritage Forest. About 80 metres across, there was another big ass creek, like a wide one, and a deep one. And we've just hit it full speed with a man and a male officer behind us. As we've jumped to try and clear the creek and get on the other side of dry land so we could keep running, the woman officer landed on the back of my mate, and the male officer, who was 6 foot plus, 100 kilo heavier, landed on the back of me mid-flight. And as we've come down, my mate and the woman cop landed in the water, and she's got hold of him and, trying to arrest him, whatever. I jumped a little bit further, so I almost made the clearing to the other side of the embankment. But this officer had landed on me in midair, and when we come down, he's just slammed me face first into the embankment. And naturally, I've gone, put my hands out to try and protect myself. But at the same time, he's gone fucking bang, put his arm around my neck, and we've just gone smack face first into the embankment. Now, given I'm 14 or 15, and this is a grown man, I'll tell this other part of the story in a minute, but he was not a small police officer, I tell you that much. One of the biggest cops in terms of height, width, and weight that I've ever seen still to this day. And long story short, because, and I've spoken about this, because I got winded, and not concussion, but it smashed me when he landed on me and I went face first into the embankment, and he had his hand around my neck. We're now up to here in water, muddy, dirty, creek water. When we come back off the embankment, I've sort of pushed on the embankment with my feet to keep my head above the water, and he's just ripped me head first down into the water, put my head underwater. That set me into a panic, because not only had I just been injured, face first into the creek embankment, he was choking me, and now because I'd tried to push us backwards and force myself out of his chokehold grip, he just automatically presumed I was resisting. And he's just repeatedly started dunking my head and himself at some point, at some stages, because he was trying to make me submit and give in from restraining and resisting. But yeah, 2 or 3 times he's got me in this chokehold, and I'm trying to punch him and do whatever to get out of this chokehold to escape. And he repeatedly kept slamming my head under the water. And after about 3 times of being choked, punched, and somewhat suffocated and drowned, genius here, unable to accept the circumstances. We hadn't even been on the run for 1 full day. I was going back to Ashley's, done the most foolish and said the worst thing I could have possibly said in that situation. You're fighting with a police officer, you're up to, well, it was chest height for me. He was, like I said, 6 foot plus tall. You're fighting with someone who's got a full police uniform on. They've got belts and guns and keys and handcuffs and radios, and anyone that's had to jump fences, be chased, let alone fight with someone in water, when you've got shit on you, clothing even, it's not easy. It feels like, everything's going to be a lot harder. So after slamming me into that water 3-4 times, I've come up out of the water when he's pulled me up out of it, and I looked to my left and realised that my mate was fucked. This woman cop had him in a full Nelson and was basically had him pinned down against the face of the embankment, just watching me and this other officer fight it out. Well, at some point he's thumping me, like hitting me and telling me to stop, like screaming at me to stop. And because I realised there was no way out of this, I wasn't going to overpower this officer. He was far much bigger than me and far stronger than me. I just snapped and started screaming, "Help me grab his gun! Help me grab his fucking gun!" And that was the worst thing I ever did, because obviously that's going to make anyone panic, including me. Once I said it, I couldn't take it back. Obviously, it was too late. And yeah, if I thought I was getting smashed and nearly drowned before I said that, I was sadly mistaken. He was literally throwing, like, instead of dunking me now, while he's got me in this headlock, like literally trying to hold me down like that, so he's above the water. It was like he just thought, fuck this, like I ain't letting this psycho little fuck grab my gun. And he's like let go of my arm. He had hold of my arm and one arm around my neck, and he literally just went boom, boom, and put me in a proper sleeper hold, and then just dropped backwards in the water. So he would have took a big deep breath, knowing he was already choking the air out of me, so I couldn't take a breath, and just dropped backwards in the water. And the first time he done it, we were underwater, I don't know, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds. But when you're 14 years old and you've got a grown man and they've got you in a sleeper hold, you're fully dressed, and they're choking you, and then they go and pull you backwards underwater. I won't lie, I wish I had common sense back then, because when my brother said said RoboCop last night, I'll get to the reason why it gave me flashbacks of this story. I won't lie. When I sat here last night reminiscing about that, I was like, fucking hell, like that was actually terrifying at the time. But as I've said, when you continue to overlap and stack things on top of traumatic things, you just eventually you wipe out the less severe incidences. And yes, I am saying this is less severe than many incidents to come, especially involving police and correctional staff. I had a serious issue with authority. That was my problem, is that I've explained this, I didn't just attack people in the street. I'm not someone that will just get aggressive with you and smash you in a nightclub. I'm not someone that just gets violent for no reason. But when it come to authority, police, correctional staff, youth justice workers, anyone that thought they had authority over me, tried to tell me what to do and more so make me do something physically, or tell me if I didn't do something or whatever, yeah, I was unpredictable, violent, and I couldn't control myself because I had an authority issue. But thinking back about that incident, it was upsetting because although it didn't affect me the way it should have, obviously I'd fucking forgotten about it, and I feel terrible for that because of that female officer who had my mate, and more so this male officer that I didn't ever see again. I never seen him again. It was like, I don't know if he got transferred to Hobart, if he moved into another state, I don't know. I don't even know if he continued to be a police officer after this incident because I never seen him again, and yet I was a criminal for the next 16 years. So I don't really know, but I do sincerely apologise for that day because it would have been fucking traumatic. It would have made him question his job, made him question what he's doing. Like, is this the life I want to have? Like, what if he'd got my gun? What if this? What if that? What if I'd have drowned him? He's fucking 14, 15 years old. Like, yeah, these are the things that I was never able to reflect on and think about on a deep level, like how it would affect everyone, not just me. So basically, he's thrown me backwards in the water this first time, given me a proper chokehold. So now I'm not trying to punch or do anything like that because I'm not mucking around with one hand, and he's not just holding on to me like in a chokehold that isn't really choking me. Now he's full, got me like that, and he's choking me and drowning me at the same time and thrashing me around like to try and control me. But yeah, basically at some point, I believe other officers jumped into the creek, like they would have obviously heard us fighting and screaming, and they were all running around Heritage Forest trying to find us and whatnot. And yeah, eventually more officers have jumped in, they've dragged us out of the creek. I've been smashed, thrown face down, handcuffed, and they ended up catching our other mate who ran off from hiding in the creek, being submerged in the water as well. And this is the part that, like my brother saying, oh yeah, RoboCop chased me and me mates when we were young, we used to do this, this and this. He's like, oh, no one ever wanted to be chased by him because he'd always catch us. And when he said RoboCop, I said to him, I said, is he about 6'3", is he about 6'3" and like 100 kilo, big bald-headed fella? And he's like, yep. And I said, fucking hell. And that's when this story come back to me. Because as I said, it was the one and only time that I had anything to do with this officer. Uniform officer. And basically, once we were handcuffed and back under arrest and going back to the detention centre, I was obviously being extremely hostile, saying horrible things, acting aggressively, even once I was handcuffed and had just been drowned 5 or 6 fucking times. It's stupidity. That's what I'm getting to. Like, and it's really upsetting to me, like I won't lie, that I forgot that incident because of how severe it was, because of how much it would have affected the other 3 people in that creek. But yet I seem to just move past it. I don't even remember when I forgot about it. But yeah, and I wanted to highlight that, like the fact that even though I can acknowledge things have overlapped and overridden one another throughout my life, when Corey said that last night, I actually had to sit with myself for a second and be like, how could you forget that? Because when I relive things, I feel the emotion. I remember how scary and terrifying it was, how I was thinking, what I was feeling, why I said what I said, like, and it's all survival instinct when you're that kind of person. You're doing your best to escape that situation. Like I said, I wasn't saying grab his gun because I wanted to shoot him. I was thinking grab that gun as a way to get out of there. You know what I mean? To escape again. That's not how a police officer that's trying to place you under arrest sees it. When they're fighting with you tooth and nail in a creek this deep in water, like, and you're an escaped detainee from a detention centre, that is not how they see it. They hear grab his gun, they think, fuck, this cunt's going to try and shoot me. He's going to try and use that gun to kill one of us. And yeah, it just, I don't know, man. It's so hard for me to now acknowledge some of the things I've done, the things I've said, the situations I've put people in. And yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but after we were arrested and went back to the detention centre, naturally, my mate who was in the creek with me, his girlfriend was charged with aiding and abetting the escape of detainees from a detention centre. The people who she got to bring her out to the detention centre highway, they were then required to give statements to police and give evidence in court. And this is something that I really want to touch on because I can't say too much, but let's just put it like this. I did a video a week and a half back, explaining how if you do a criminal act in front of someone that isn't criminally involved, and then you threaten them or you have bad things done to them or you try to make them not come to court or any of the above because of your actions, that makes you the scum. Now, I can't go into too much detail, but let's just say this. That incident, from start to finish, wrecked a lot of people's lives, traumatised a lot of people in a lot of different ways. A lot of things that will not be said here today happened because of us escaping. Because us four decided to escape, it affected a lot of people's lives in a lot of crazy ways, let me tell you that much. And, you know, the one thing that I really want to emphasise here is that I want to apologise, especially to the officer I was fighting with, because, yeah, people may look like... It's funny to me. People hear these videos and they must think, why is 36-year-old you apologising for something that happened when you were 14 or just 15 to a grown man that was just doing his job? Because people don't go to work one day, have a normal day on the job, do whatever, and then the next day find themselves chasing an escaped detainee who does not value his life or his freedom, and find themselves fighting to the death. It would feel like when you're fighting with someone like me at that age and that time in my life, because of the things I would say, the noises I would make, and the aggressive nature in which I would be conducting myself, you'd feel like you're having a fight to the death. It's that simple. And that's not me bragging, that's the truth. When we were in that creek fighting and I'm fucking screaming and hollering and screaming, grab his fucking gun, help me grab his gun. Those memories probably never left that man's mind and that woman police officer's mind who couldn't let go of my mate, because then she would have found herself in the same position this other officer was in, literally struggling, fighting, not knowing who's going to come. Like, I think we knew who was going to win that day. He was a lot bigger than me and a lot stronger than me and a lot older than me. But as I explained, when someone's trying to go for your fucking firearm, that's different. Like, it's hard to sit with these things, but as I said, I do these videos because I think they are fucking critically important to explaining to people that, like, if you go down that road, you're not going to become a nice person. You're not going to find yourself in good situations. And you will repeatedly and continually make poor decisions that just overlap and override the bad things that have happened before that. And eventually what happens is you become numb. You become so disconnected and desensitized to the things you've seen, the things you've done, the things you've said, that your only option is to keep getting worse. Because otherwise you feel like you're not. And for me, I wanted to be a bad person. That's the hardest thing to accept, is that my life had got to a point where I wanted to be feared. I wanted to be Kane Richardson. I wanted to be all these scummy fucking things that I become, only to once I finally got all the way there at 26, 27 years old, I couldn't stand the fucking sight of myself. I honestly couldn't. People don't understand that, but trust me, when you go from thinking your shit don't fucking stink to thinking you look like the scummiest, crummiest piece of dog shit there is, trust me, that's when your life will come crashing down around you. When you realise that all the decisions you've made consciously have turned you into an unconscious, self-medicating, suicidal, unpredictable, and uncontrollable individual, you won't like it. And for me, again, it's always about accountability, because I could have people close to me, and this isn't something I can talk about right now, but I could have people that are the closest to me, people that I thought, I don't know, that I loved or that I respected or cared about. And just since coming back from Thailand, I've had to make some serious acknowledgements that I can't love these people because of the way I've treated them, because of the way I've lived my life and controlled theirs and been the part of their life that I've been. That ain't love. That ain't respect. That ain't care, because you don't do the things that I've done to people that you say you love and care about. It is that simple. And I don't know, man. Like, I really hope these videos find the people they need to find, because I'm getting so much love, so much support, so many messages. And this is something that really, I'm going to do a video about it today because I need to address it. So many people say to me, oh, my kid loves your song. How old's your kid? Oh, he's 8. Oh, he's 12. Oh, he's 7. Oh, it's not about me being a hypocrite, because I was the biggest hypocrite. I was the biggest shit talker. I would sit there and preach all glory to the sunlight and the peace and happiness and being a good person and having morals and this and that. And then guess what? You put me in a situation where I lose my temper, where I think I'm being hard done by, something's gone wrong, or, again, authority. You put me in a position where someone says, oh, if you don't do this, I'll fuck it. All my morals, principles, self-beliefs about conducting yourself as a normal person, and they go straight out the window, and I will turn nasty immediately. So these are all acknowledgements, because they have to be acknowledged. People think that, it's all sunshine and rainbows in that life. I promise you, it may be bits and pieces. You may get a few good laughs. You may meet and make some good friends. You may have some good memories. I have heaps of great memories from that life. Like, I really do. Some of the funniest times and the hardest I've ever laughed has been in detention centres and jails, or the detention centre and the jail. But some of the most fucked up environments and situations and incidents that have ever happened in my life that I haven't forgotten, that I'll never forget, hearing me out, happened in those exact same environments. And yeah, I just really hope that these videos serve a great purpose and really address a lot of things that go unsaid when you're in a professional setting, when you're talking to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a peer support worker, someone that has lived experience. It doesn't matter, because they ain't me. They ain't someone that during my time as that person everyone looked up to, and everyone thought I was crazy, and everyone thought it was cool, and all these things. It was spastic. I was retarded. I had mental health issues. Like, I wasn't well. And you can't be well to conduct yourself like that. It's that simple. And yeah, for me, it's more about helping people identify, understand. Identify being the big one. If you can identify that you're making choices that are detrimental to your health and safety and well-being and future and prosperity, you need to look at the root causes. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you self-sabotage and put yourself in a position where it's only going to get worse? It's only going to end bad. You're not going to get any positives from your actions. Unless you're completely cooked out of your mind on drugs, if these are self-aware, self-conscious decisions that you make, there's something wrong. It's that simple. There's things that you need to look at, address, talk about, reflect on. And again, I know I say it a lot, it's about self-acknowledgement, self-accountability. You've got to be able to sit back and go, am I actually, because this is something, actually I'm going to do two more videos today, because that's something else I want to touch on. Yeah, again, I've told the story, and I've talked about how I got to the point that I was that person at such a young age. someone that would try and grab a police officer's gun while I'm fighting with them in a fucking muddy creek. Makes me sick. It makes me throat go dry because, like I said, I'd forgotten about this. And to think about those 3 other people in that creek that morning, early hours of the morning, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to be in a freezing cold fucking creek fighting for their life, some cunt trying to grab a firearm from you? Like, it's just retarded. Like, I do my best not to get emotional on these videos because it's not about me being a fucking bitch because I ain't no bitch. It's just, it's not easy to accept the impact I've no doubt had on those. I know the impact I've had on one of their lives, my mate, but like even the female and male officer that were in that creek with us while I was fighting with that officer, it's hard to accept what that would have done to them now that I can sit back and be accountable and think about what if I was that police officer and I had some schizo little drugged up fucking cunt that had escaped from a detention centre trying to grab my gun. I'd be thinking he's going to try and shoot me. We could end up dying here. Like, I'm going to have to hurt him. I'm going to have to drown him. So it's just like, yeah, the hardest thing is forgetting it. The fact that I forgot this story, and yet it's a fucking really bad story. Like, let's be honest. You can't possibly have listened to this and been like, what a dickhead. That was a poor choice. Fucking poor choice. He nearly killed me because he thought I was probably going to try and shoot him or take, you know what I mean? Like, and I spoke about this the other day. People don't have to do that to children at any point in their life, let alone someone like me who had to be repeatedly. When I say repeatedly, I do my best to mix these videos up so that there's positive videos, some funny videos, all educational. I want them all to be self-help educational videos so that people can take positives from them and use the positives, hear the negatives, and acknowledge how I become to make that decision. That's the biggest thing for me. Because you don't make decisions like that just off the cuff of your shirt, mate, I promise you. So yeah, I really hope that was substantial in its context, in the sense that, like I said, if we hadn't escaped from that detention centre, less than a dozen people's lives wouldn't have been traumatically and psychologically affected in the next 24, 48 hours, and even beyond that, because of court cases and witness statements and things that have happened because of that incident. So, yeah. Again, just to finish the video, because this is, for me, outside of it being a self-help video and trying to explain to people why you can't go down that road over any period of time, but especially a sustained period of time, is I want to apologise to all the officers, especially the 2 officers that were in that creek with us, because I can't possibly go back and put myself in their shoes. However, I am able to acknowledge that it would have been fucking traumatic having anyone, boy, girl, young, old, small, big, it don't matter. When they're already fighting with you and you're already having to try and control them, the thought of them grabbing your gun off your waist is obviously going to affect you to the point where, whether it's a 14, 15-year-old kid or not, you will try and drown them. And rightfully so. I'm not saying he shouldn't have. If anything, if that was me, I'd like to think I would have just knocked me out. I would have just went fucking boof, straight on the jaw. End of the argument. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm not saying, oh, poor me, he fucking threw me into the embankment and he tried to drown me. That's just part of the story. The worst part of this story is how many people's lives were affected because of one poor decision that 4 young boys made that day we decided to jump that fence at Ashley's. All right. Oh, a bit of new moisturiser.